Here, but everyone else on the other side.
Yeah. We do need Tony.
Died.
Oh, Eric, or Eric. Either, anybody. There we go.
Good afternoon.
Aaron,
Aaron,
Apologize, I got caught up here, so I'm gonna be joining via Zoom today. Glad the link's working. Can you hear me?
yes, can you hear us?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Alright, so this is the, let's see, you guys wanna watch each other or? Yes,
and is Tony here?
Tony's on, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna look into the owl, the cuckoo when you're talking, otherwise it's gonna recognize your voice and you're gonna end up having a camera like to you.
Okay.
And then the audio's there, so we're hoping this is the solution for meetings here. Just give me one.
No,
second here.
Jake, other.
No, I gotta pull up my.
You ready?
I am ready, yep.
All right, I will call the Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 meeting of the Monona Park and Rec Board to order. We do have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 9th, November 13th, 2024, and January 15th, 2025 meetings?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any changes or corrections? The only thing I noticed, Jake, on the January minutes at the date, you have it Wednesday, November, January 15th. Just a little, could be confusing for somebody if they look.
Oh,
later.
yeah, I will update that, thank you.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Good job. Who do we have? Is there anyone here who wants to make an appearance on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, then I know we have. I think, I know Ginger and maybe somebody else needs to leave at 4 o'clock. We.
Ginger and Rachel,
Okay. And we'll still have 5.
yeah, we'll be good.
Okay, as long as everybody else can stay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, well, you want to just go in order as they are on here?
Correct, so
Okay,
we had 2 from unfinished business from last meeting that we had. So first up is Monona Swim and Dive Club. Rob is online, president of Monona Swim and Dive. After we approved our hours, we kind of discussed some different options with swim team as far as their time frame allotted at the pool and looked through some different options. And so in your packet, you have basically what we have already approved on a 3-year basis with amendments to kind of the times, and those are highlighted in your packet. And I think I will turn it over to Missy and Rob to kind of talk through some of those things. Just knowing that, you know, the public pool is like a spot where everyone wants time at usually the same time frames, and we try to squeeze enough, you know, activity in for a full day. And the changing dynamics of our community has less demand for lessons in swim team practices kind of in that mid-morning time frame and more for the early evening, which tracks with our dual working families and things like that. So we did cut into our evening swim time to try to allow for more learn to swim programs and swim teams. So from my perspective anyway, there's always a balance of the needs of the community and trying to balance out what our revenue goals are and creating the most amount of participation. And, you know, revenue from operating the pool. So there's always like challenges and hurdles that we have to go through. But always glad to work with Rob and the swim team. It's been a great partnership over the years, and a lot of our swim team kiddos end up as employees of the pool. So, Missy, Rob, you're off mute, so feel free to jump in on the agreement that's in front of our board.
You have anything, Missy, first?
No, I think that like Jake said, the standard agreement is concurrent on what we've used in years past with some addendums and changes to times of their practices, with also opening up some shared mixed use times during the morning timeframe to allow some other public aspects swim, along with kind of spicing into our swim lesson program as well. So I think our overall goal is to try and make everybody in the community happy with what we are providing at that outdoor pool. And the swim and dive team is a big component of it, but they also do take up a fair amount of time at the pool as well. So we just want to make sure that we adequately address everybody's wants, needs, and issues.
No, one question, so, for example, during the regular evening practices, 5:30 to 6:45, and 6:45 to 7:30, will they be using 6 lanes? The rest of the pool will be open to the public, is that right?
No, during that time, we offer swim lessons.
Oh, okay. All the way up,
During,
like Jake's, okay.
yeah,
up to
so we
7:30.
offer,
Okay.
and that has always been our evening swim lessons from as long as I've been here, 2012, and I think even prior, that evening time frame has always been a joint mixed use time frame where we've had the shallow end of the facility to offer our squirts A and B classes, and then our levels 1, 2, and then 3 takes up lanes 1 and 2. So we've always had that 6 lane split, and then they've had the dive level.
Okay,
So swim lessons would be going on at that same time.
and then it would be open to the public at 7:30 on those days.
7:30 to 9,
Okay,
Monday through Thursday.
right. Okay, Rob, did you have anything with that?
Yeah, I just would like, to kind of emphasize, like Jake was talking about it, we do have a good relationship and want to continue that. I think as Jake said too, our needs are changing as we go through these years. We're finding that there is some interest in the afternoon, but there's also, we're hearing now that parents are telling us, is there late morning opportunities? And so, I know that I wrote a letter last fall around the budget time frame that kind of talked about a lot of the ways that what I consider Mo that's our swim team, with our short name is Mo, that Mo and the city have had a great relationship for almost 50 years, 50 years now, maybe even more than that. And so just to that balance of enhancing life for folks on the team as well as in the community, in the greater community, making sure that kids get that opportunity. So looking forward to, I think this year, as we've been back and forth on discussing a lot of the different items within the agreement, just kind of keeping track of how we're using things because they are changing. So we in our club have really been talking about how are we going to keep track of things. Another challenge of ours is not only time in the pool, but then getting coaches to, be at the pool during those times. Like Missy said, we tend to pull from the same talent pool, no pun intended there, with both lifeguards and swim coaches. And so making sure that we've got enough coaches on deck that doesn't interfere with, if they are lifeguards as well, and potentially even instructors. So that is one of our challenges. And so that's what we're going to, as a club, really focus in on: how many kids do we have enough coaches, and we have our own budget that we have to maintain, so we have to pay our coaches as well, and trying to make sure that we're maintaining, at least covering our costs with that. So looking forward to seeing how the pool itself gets utilized. I am hopefully that Jake and Missy, you guys would be willing to get together towards the end of the year, the end of the summer, and start talking about how everybody used the time that we had, and maybe start to begin these discussions on these agreements and these times earlier, so that we don't have this last minute back and forth like we've had the last month or so. So with the agreement as written, I don't have any comments on that, but just kind of would like to offer and reiterate that we both take a look and see how we're using it, and see if there's a way that we can maximize the use of the pool, both for the club, which is so integrated into the community, but at the same time doesn't interfere with the rest of the community's use of the pool.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Jake or Rob? Let me see. All right, then, the fees, Jake, for this, were they more than last year, or what?
So that they have gone up, and the agreement we passed last year was a 3-year that,
Right.
so this year is at $75, I believe.
Yeah.
2024 was 70, or right?
Well, I had it up and now it disappeared on my phone, but yes, it should be $75. We did a $5 increase on the 3-year sliding scale.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have the agreement open on the fee?
I do,
It should
and
be
I'm
70. It's under the fee.
Yeah,
So
it's
75. this year.
75 this year, 80.
yep, I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
And then this would be a recommendation to the city council to approve the facility use agreement. It would go on the board on, ideally March 18th, this next meeting. Typically we do 2 reads, but I think for the vast, we're gonna have a few agreements coming through that ideally we just get, an alder would maybe make an amendment to approve in 1 read. Otherwise, the second reading would be April 7th for final approval, but
potentially they could go on the consent agenda, like, because
Well, that's true.
we're using trying to use it more.
right.
But so
Yeah, that's a great idea.
all right, then we've got a bunch of other stuff to do, so is there a motion on these agreement with the swim team? Anyone?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. So we'll move that on to the city council. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Free to stick around if you want to.
I appreciate that. I got to get back to my job though. So
All right.
see y'all.
All right, 4B is Monona Farmers Market Facility Use Agreement Discussion and Recommendation that we talked about at last meeting. Jake.
Aaron Dalbach is here, president of Monona Farmers Market, and I believe we've got screen sharing, so he's got a presentation he's gonna
If you want.
throw up from Zoom, but yeah,
Yeah, why
come
don't
on
you
up to
come
the
on?
table here.
Yeah.
And it's good to have Aaron here in person. I know there were some discussions and questions that I wasn't able to necessarily answer. Just from our end, the recommendation I have is to approve this facility use agreement on a 1-year basis that allows us to continue our partnership with the nonprofit and look at what our future Monona leadership is looking for out of the farmers market or for future improvements at the site. Historically, the last one we did was a 5-year agreement. But Aaron's here to kind of talk through their end of it, and if I have anything to add at the end of it, I would add those comments, but I will just say, Aaron, from my time working with him, is like amazing out there at the market every Sunday, and it is kind of a thankless job. putting together this market, and as we are dealing with nonprofits from all angles, I think the trend is very challenging, keeping people engaged in a volunteer capacity. And, you know, Aaron as president is behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, lugging equipment out and dealing with the vendors and the public on a Sunday. So we bump into each other quite a few times on Sundays when, you know, there's challenges that we have at the site too, for being able to have a site that's prepared and ready, and electrical that gets tripped and not available. And so I commiserate sometimes, because I feel like, you know, when I have to go out on a Sunday morning, I'm like, it's Sunday morning. And I'm like, well, Aaron's here every Sunday from May through October. So thank you, Aaron, for being here, and the floor is yours. I think you can share if you have your computer.
Yep, I
on
can
the screen too.
Sure, and
So
hopefully
everybody
that comes
can see
through
it.
just fine. Let's see if it
Perfect.
comes through. All right, perfect. Well, yeah, as Jake had alluded to, I'm Aaron, Monona Farmers Market, been a volunteer there for approximately 7 years now, if I'm counting right, somewhere in that time frame. Started out as just a simple volunteer, helping set up the markets, meeting, you know, bringing out different gear and tents, and coordinating with the market manager on vendors and whatnot. And eventually that role changed from just kind of a general help to sponsorship coordinator, and then on to being the president currently, and also taking on more responsibilities this year, which I will get into. But just for those that have never been to the market, I got a quick presentation. I'll whip through this really fast. And just kind of throw some key notes out there in regards to all the different duties as it relates to the market. You know, operations and whatnot. So the first is, you guys kind of take a look, that's a logo that was rebranded, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So, you know, marketing is certainly part of that aspect of the farmer's market, making sure we stay current. I don't know, I'm not a marketing expert, but I believe, you know, you want to rebrand every like 4 or 5 years, somewhere in that time frame is what they say. So maybe we're due, but I still kind of like it, it looks modern. Here's a little agenda on what we'll walk through here, the history of the market, kind of the general volunteer and staff. Location, most of you know that already, daily operations, and then get into some of the other aspects, which is the musicians, vendors, marketing, benefits, program, sponsor, and what the future might look like. Can everybody online hear me okay too? Perfect. Yeah, so history, I guess I probably wasn't part of, well, I certainly wasn't part of the market when it started, but anybody's best guess, if you've been around long enough, it started maybe in 2003, 22 years ago. Ross Cohen was the first market manager, and he operated from 2009 to 2015, is very key into what is the current market today, which includes those additional like food assistance programs and the music. Volunteer and staff is the only way that this market really operates. So it's regular that we have a number of individuals volunteering. For those of you that don't know, Claudia's in there on the left. She's one of the principals, as am I, in the market. Riku there on the right, volunteer. A lot of the time, the volunteers will be at the market manager tent, and that's really to handle the till for the food benefits program, so SNAP, EBT, double dollars. And that's really the primary reason that they're staffing that, is to be able to do those transactions for those that have food insecurity and or needs to do that kind of transaction. So yeah, listing out a few of the volunteers. Victoria, she does a lot with our Facebook, and just kind of online. We really had a transitional shift a few years ago from, you know, general newspaper articles to just kind of doing everything online, because most people do that, as you would know today. A lot of people have smartphones. So Kristen is an up and coming, well, she's a current volunteer, but probably will move into the principal role. Some of you might know Claudia. She is moving out. She's officially put in her resignation. So Kristen's going to step up and move into that role. And again, a number of different volunteers in the background, but the remaining ones would be working the tent as you see it there and handling transactions. Yeah, many volunteers over the year, I've seen them come and go, and, like Jake mentioned, volunteering is one of the difficulties in keeping that pool, full, so to speak. Kind of years past, Suzanne Wade, I'm sure you know some of them, was president, other steering committee members, Shirley, is it Basbine, anybody know her? Yeah, Kathy Gerber. Yeah, so a lot of these folks have moved on, right? They spent their time and now they're on their way, but it's a team effort, a lot of people involved in the background. Most of you guys know, Huska Park, is the location of the Monona Farmers Market. We like the location, our vendors like the location, our, you know, the patrons, as we call them, to come, you know, purchase from the farmers like the location. It's easy, accessible. We get a lot of compliments that it's easier to access this farmers market than it is the Capitol Square. So just to put that in perspective, a lot of compliments when it comes to the location of it. We're definitely running out of room, and what I mean by that is parking, and any given day, you know, you can have not football probably, but let's say baseball and tennis and other things going on in the park, and we can fill that parking lot completely in its entirety to the point that we have to kind of park off onto the grass, which is like a little gravel driveway on the way to the ball field, if you will. So shout out to Monona Parks and Rec for letting us use this location. We greatly appreciate that. It's been a great partnership over the years, and with that, obviously, you guys know, we go through the facility use agreement. And I think that's, yeah, something that we're looking at right now. And how long is that agreement gonna be good for? 1 year, I think, for this next term. So we've got to work through those details. I don't have much to say on the 5-year plan, but I'm sure Jake could jump into that at some point. Daily operations, thanks to the Parks and Rec again, we have a little bit of storage in that shelter. So we greatly appreciate being able to store things like tents and weights for tents and that kind of stuff. So we're not having to haul it back and forth from home. So we greatly appreciate that. So yeah, daily operations, go to the storage shed, you know, pick up all the tents and tables and chairs, get those set out. Cart out picnic tables, somebody with the city, I believe, Reggie, welded up a nice cart that has picnic tables, which is an absolute back saver. I'd be lying if I said I didn't make it to the chiropractor a few times moving, you know, picnic tables around. So there's a great little cart there to help us move picnic tables around. Thank you very much for that. Other duties is we make sure that the trash is cleaned up around the park, before and after, the events. And surprisingly, there's a lot of traffic in that park, and probably sometimes at later hours, unfortunately, that can potentially leave a lot of trash. So we end up, you know, picking up many bags with the trash before we get the market started out early in the morning. The SNAP EBT benefits is, again, something we take care of at the table. Double Dollars is a program that comes in on June, so it basically doubles the money that they spend on their card up to $20. So if somebody wants to spend $20 on their EBT card, we can double that and give them 40 in total. And that's another program that's, you know, it depends on the year, how much money they've raised, that it would be available and for how long. I think the last couple of years started in June, and it continued all the way through the end of the market. So that's great for those that are using those programs. Of course, we got our vendors coming in, anywhere from 25 to 30 vendors that come in, depending. Some vendors have single stalls, some vendors have double stalls. We have one vendor that has 3 stalls. You probably know that vendor if you're involved at all there. It's the Vitruvian market. So Vitruvians, they're down in 51. So they have a pretty unique setup and use up 3 stalls at this point. So. And then we also do the music and the special guests. I got a picture of special guests here. Mary O'Connor, Mayor, and Sarah Smith. So they all come in and speak, and we always are open to having anybody from the, you know, city come out. One thing we do restrict is we really try to minimize that to things that are related to the market or the city. We don't want solicitation happening there, if that makes sense. No matter what they would be willing to pay us, we're not necessarily interested in soliciting the patient. The farmer's market is.
So Doug can't promote his Amway business.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. not gonna happen.
The CDs.
I haven't heard of that in a while.
Music is a big driver for the market. I think without music, we might not get as many, patrons in. So just a little detail about the music. It goes from 10 to noon. Talks a little bit about how we compensate the musicians. You know, it needs to be market friendly, you know, promoting the market. We don't want it to interfere with, you know, folks trying to transact with any of the market. Occasionally, we gotta tell people, you know, hey, turn it down a little bit. It's a little bit too loud. Not often, but it does happen. And, Ben Moyle, he's a volunteer, but also an enthusiast around music. So, you know, he started out as a volunteer working the Monona Farmers Market booth and then went into, hey, I'll do the bookings of the music. So, you know, I should be connected here and it should go out to his Google Forms, I guess you'd call that. So he's created a nice online registration for music, works out really nice. We've tried this in the past, not had great success, but his commitment to getting it down is great. So yeah, we have all the music booked up for most of the year already. Ben's a college student, so he does a lot in the background and doesn't necessarily show up on Sundays, but you know, the whole musicians are scheduled and he's also booking acts around the city now as well. So props to him for that.
Do you have your own PA system?
No, in this image, with these musicians, they brought all of that.
They bring their own.
They
Okay.
bring it all in. Through, you know, Monona Parks and Rec, we have access to an outlet that would be behind them. Just a snapshot, this would have been last year's vendors. 99% of them. Whatever those percentages will return, so. We have a lot of longtime vendors that return, so maybe 1 or 2 out of the year would. You know, drop off and we'd add a couple new vendors. The question's been asked, can we grow the market size? I could snap my fingers and probably double the size of the market. Why don't we do that? We don't have the room. So, and, you know, try to think of where throughout the city we could get additional room to grow the market. And the question is difficult to answer at the end of the day. This works out really well, especially when we want to control the size of it. No more than 30 vendors will fit here. And you can see the layout and how it works. For those of you who've been to the park, we're on the far east side of the parking lot. Any questions about that online?
I got a quick question. This is Aaron Embry. Is there a wait list for vendors? And if so, is it just kind of when one drops off, the next one kind of fills in?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So there is a wait list that, you know, goes to the shredder every year. Unfortunately, I guess that's the best way to put it, because we have a lot of returning vendors. And unless there's an issue with a vendor or they decide to leave, you know, we just don't have anywhere to put them.
What is the cost for a vendor? So like that East Row 5 or 6, are they the base amount and then row 1 up pays triple that and the other row pays double?
Yeah, and I think I got the dollar amounts here somewhere. I might have to get to that. I'll come back to that, but correct, it's based off a stall size. So the stall sizes are 10 feet, which is a typical pop-up tent size. And if you want to double that, it would be double the stall fee. Because of COVID, we add additional space between stalls. So when I say 10 feet, there'll be 3 feet on either side of any one stall, which ends up being 6 feet between any one vendor, and it gives them additional space. And that really came out of the COVID spacing. Otherwise, everybody was on top of each other and we really stuck to that. It just gave a little more walking room around the tents. And of course, you know, a lot of the vendors use that for putting more of their product out as well.
How many vendors do you typically have on your wait list?
I would, it's weekly, sometimes daily that we're shooting them down. Yeah, yeah. But again, only based on space.
Do vendors get preferred parking?
Oh, yeah, parking's interesting, not really shown in this map, but let's take number 6, for example. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, any one of those vendors, I think Jake has mentioned this in previous markets. They're the top side of this, you know, cartoon, I'll call it, you know, none of this is to scale, but I think you get the point on how everything flows and where they're at. They're, the blue, let's just call those tents, and the tents are up against the curb. Their vehicles would be up on the grass because of space. So if I pulled the vehicles onto the parking lot, that means we would have the tents where the arrows are, there wouldn't be anywhere to walk. So most of the vendors that are on the outside edge are parked up on the grass, so they drive vehicles up over the curb and up on the grass. Most of that is very old hardened soil, so we don't generally have issues there. We did run into one issue where the new slab had got poured, and of course that was new, you know, dugout hole with softer soil, and you know, a vehicle did create some tracks there. Work in process and getting that fixed.
Thank you. I just had one other question with the Virtue and Farm stalls. Is it to bring more product or is it to do the CSA pickup service that they provide?
It's all of the above. They bring so much to the market. It's almost like a grocery store under a tent. They have a flow process to their 3 tents, so that'd be 16 and 17. That's actually 3 stalls, so about 30 feet. Kind of north and south, or up, you know, top and bottom as you're looking at this. They would have 3 stalls, and as they sell their produce and run out, they'll collapse down to maybe 2 tents. And then they also have a till on one side, so yeah, combination of the pickups and the amount of produce that they bring is, you know, significant.
Nice. I will say if I go pick up my CSA, it's almost impossible to not get lemonade and popcorn.
That's right, there's those draws too. Yep, absolutely. Good point. Yeah, so the focus, of course, back to waiting list and who we allow in, very, very much focused on farmers. With a couple key exceptions of, you know, popcorn or lemonade or coffee, or, you know, a vendor card to create, you know, serve breakfast, for example. But we really, really try to focus on any, you know, farm related. It's sometimes tough. We get a lot of vendors that we have to shoot down because, you know, they want to sell, you know, tie-dye t-shirts or something along those lines, arts and crafts. And we really do not want to go there, because once you open that door up, then where do you stop? Any more questions about the vendors? I see maybe on the presentation, it might be a little bit cut off for you guys on here, but yeah, there's vendors all along the bottom there as well. If you're looking at that. Yeah, so from the marketing standpoint, a lot more focus on the website, Facebook, Instagram, different nonprofit organizations, I guess maybe the best way to put that around town, that'll do magazines. We probably backed out of the local papers, to be honest. You guys know Pat, and she was part of the farmers market years past. She would write up a lot of great articles. She just did a great job of writing. We're kind of backing out of that medium, I guess, if you will. There's so many smartphones are out there. With that said, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for picking up the Herald Independent and reading that they needed a volunteer. That's how I ended up here, so. Jumping into the benefits program again, and kind of the primary reason for having volunteers at the market tents, you know, Quest, Snap, EMT. And as all you, as everybody, if you're paying attention, as you know, a lot of this stuff is, what's gonna happen to it, right? This is all part of the farm bill at the end of the day. Your guess is as good as mine. If this went away, if these benefits went away, we probably wouldn't need as many volunteers, because most of what they do are those transactions at the till. So stay tuned, I guess, we'll find out. Sponsor list does not signify like who sponsored last year. These are just businesses that have sponsored over the years. So we didn't have that many sponsors in a single year. It's just, it's not a complete list, but it just kind of gives you a snapshot of, you know, who's decided to sponsor the market over the years. There's a few of them in there that definitely will sponsor on a yearly basis. But like any sponsor, they'll come on, will come off. Ever since COVID, it's been down, to be clear, so less people sponsor, or less businesses sponsor since COVID.
What are, excuse me, what are the sponsorship levels?
Yeah, I think I got them there. So 250, we call that the seedling level, and all the things that are included with that. So name on market signage. If you've been to the market, we got signs, either entrance side, name on our website. For the cultivator level, yeah, same thing plus spotlights, marketing on social media. So it is an advertisement for the businesses if they sponsor. Now, we define what we give them, because I've had scenarios where, you know, somebody says, yeah, I'll sponsor you, but I want to fly flags there every week, or you know what I mean, you know, put the billboard up, and it's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. Of course, the city doesn't allow us to fly the flag, but yeah. Restrictions around that kind of stuff, so keep it simple. Any questions about sponsors?
Right, and maybe Patrick, you might want to jump in here. I think the discussion we had at the last meeting was there was. At least some people felt like there was maybe a missed opportunity to get more or larger sponsorship money.
And that could be because of volunteers too. I mean, not having volunteers to solicit those sponsorships, or because I'm just assuming that we kind of rely passively for someone to see it, approach and say, I want to sponsor the market.
Yeah, somewhat. So I can be clear on that. How do we get sponsored? We'll send out cards, almost like, you know, like a postcard every year to the sponsors that have sponsored in the past, new ones that somebody's coming up with, but that's all manual, right? Print labels, apply stamps, you know, send out cards, right? A little bit of volunteer manual work there. Again, sponsorships over the years have been shrinking. Do I find that concerning? I guess this is where I would say no, because we operate the market mostly as volunteers. We definitely pay people to sit at the tent and do transactions. If they weren't there, then, you know, the SNAP benefit holders wouldn't get their money. So we do want to pay them to be there. It's a benefit to, you know, we're having that available for them. But we run the market in such a fashion that we're balanced on our budget. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I suppose, Jake, this might be where a conversation where we start to think about what more do we do? I've stated, we're not growing the market, we're controlling the size of it. Someday I'd love to see a shelter with, you know, solar panels on the top, and nobody needs to erect a tent, you know, carry that stuff around, because everybody can just come on your boat. There's a lot of markets around the US that have those kinds of things, where if you haven't been over to, what's it, the Capitol or the
Agora, Fishburg.
oh, or the one on the Capitol Springs Park that
Oh,
way, you know,
yeah.
it's just a steel structure, like a shelter,
Right, yeah.
and it's got solar panels on them. Why
Right.
not use the top of that for something? So something along those lines, you know, that'd be kind of a goal, a dream in the future. But as it sits today, we operate, you know, a budget, in fact, that we're not underwater.
Right.
So we do that through volunteers.
About how much do you get per year from the sponsors.
That varies, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever exceeded $5,000 in a good year, so that'd be like a goal. It might be more around like 3 or 4
Right.
or less. Again, it's been going down.
Okay.
Some, yeah, you know, I show this as 250 or 400. We might only get $100 from somebody.
Right.
Right, we'll accept whatever they're willing to give. And we did bump that, by the way, the 250 or the 400, you know, so.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we've not hit that 5 or probably even the 4 in the last 3 or 4, maybe in 5 years. It was pre-2020 before we had like some of those numbers. But that would be the top of our goal, you know, that gets us 5, so.
Okay.
So yeah, in terms of growth and is there a missed opportunity? We really want to be a nonprofit volunteer organization. We just want enough people to help run it. At the end of the day, we're not here to make money off of it.
Yep.
So, but we do need money to operate it.
Okay, thanks.
Jake, staff time, what amount of time is your department?
Yeah, I mean, the only challenge that we have from our end is that Sundays typically are having shelter rental days at other parks as well, and so we sometimes need to divide and conquer because of the amount of vendors that are coming to and people, like we try to make Ahuska our first stop. And then what happens on a Saturday at Ahuska that's either reserved or not, it could be upwards of, 2 hours of staff time to kind of prep and get through the trash. We also have a lot of home talent baseball games that occur on Sundays, so we may have field prep that we need to do as well. We tend to try to extend the time that the bathrooms are open to at Ahuska. It's one of our earliest ones that we turn on and latest to turn off, just for knowing how many people we're gonna have. Maybe this year we put a porta potty out just if we have concerns over low temps. So I think, the issue is generally more on the lines of if something's not working. So we've had a fair amount of electrical issues. Other people popping the breakers, like overloading the circuits that we have out there. And then just being able to like service the bathrooms and, this year, I believe we typically have not taken reservations at Ahuska Park on Sundays until 1 o'clock. This year we did kind of play with allowing for earlier reservations, and I don't know, Missy, how many, I don't think we had a lot that did that because it's just a park, with the caveat, like there may not be parking, still best to start your event like at 1. And we don't have, we don't necessarily come back to service the bathroom. So if it's a busy market day, and Ahuska is not one of our oldest shelters, so it's not, I would say, to the top 3, of what people would want to necessarily book. And the market itself, I don't think is a huge tax. It's just Saturdays are really busy and Sundays we're cleaning up after Saturdays and trying to get things ready. So if we do run into an issue at Ahuska, for example, we may not get to Fireman's Oneida or Dream Park by the time those paying reservations are starting. So ideally, we're appropriately funded and staffed that I could have like 3 people on Sundays and I can divide and conquer. It's not always the case. We might have 2 or something, someone doesn't show up. It's me going one place and the other person, going to the other place. But also knowing that it's not a paid reservation, like, Aaron, sometimes like you get what you get, like there may be, we may get to the bathrooms later, but it's a bad look on the city as well, right? Knowing that I've got 500 to 700 people coming to one facility and that we're not prepared, but it's a juggling act too of like, well, I also have a $400 reservation at Fireman's that needs to get attention to. So, Sundays are just tough. It's hard to get my staff to volunteer to work on Sundays, like I have to assign, and then that changes what we potentially can do during the week as well. So we've gone back and forth on just from staffing level. We used to have staff that just only work weekends, but the attrition rate was pretty high. I might start with 6, and then by the end of July, I'm down to 3, and so now we just have our staff that works during the summer, during the week, you know, we'll get overtime to work the weekends, but for the most part, it's not a big issue unless generally it's been a mess made by others on Saturday night that we have to attend to, so.
For us, 2 people at the market can run the market. Yeah, back in the day, 1 would do it. We changed it up because it just became too physical labor on top of having to be at the till. We really required 2. We got 3 people. Yeah, things are golden. So that's during the market hours. You know, a lot of what we do on the board is, you know, once we get to that open day, our jobs are basically done. You know? So kind of the planning and who's showing up and all that good stuff. But yeah, so 2 people can easily run our market. And just knowing that we gotta have a physical labor aspect of that, moving around different tables, yeah, that kind of stuff. We are looking for new volunteers, as most organizations are looking for volunteers. We got a big one though here, and that was Claudia's leaving. Just an absolute asset to the market. She was a retired, you know, CPA, so she, you know, did all the accounting side of it, you know, QuickBooks and payments and all that. So we're really looking to split up these roles a little bit, looking for a new treasurer. If anybody has any suggestions, somebody that might be interested in the dollar side of it and helping out there, we would, you know, love to consider them. And then also the food share coordinator, and that again is separate from the market itself, and that is, you know, the transactions around EBT, SNAP and double dollars, which is, you know, something really separate. And I think it talks a little bit about it on that piece of paper. Sorry for those online. I did not throw that into the PowerPoint, but I did leave a piece of paper here for those that are in person, so. No hands went up on the volunteers.
Yeah.
Anybody? Oh, we'll go back here. Let's see. Here's the previous side. There we go. So, future of the Monona Farmers Market. And I just threw some pictures up there. Has nothing to do with the farmers market.
I'm interested before.
Took my mom out west,
Yeah.
took her to Oregon in the convertible.
Nice.
And had a blast, so. Over 4,500 miles.
Oh, those aren't stock photos.
Yeah.
Those are great, yeah.
Yeah, 4,500 miles. Took her to Crater Lake and she just had the time of her life, so. Little open air there. Highly recommend it.
No, forest fires while you were there, apparently.
I had to put the top up at least twice. For forest fires,
Yeah.
yeah, one heading north out of Crater Lake, into Portland. There was a big one that we had to put the tops, and then, gosh, I don't know, just Idaho's, the southern part of Idaho, a lot of farming, a lot of dust, a lot of wind, so, a couple times there too. But yeah, there was multiple fires burning out there for sure, but yeah, it was beautiful. Check out Crater Lake. That's it for me, guys.
Thank you. I was gonna ask you, Jacob, when we get the new storage facility and the walkway to it, will that have a potential, well, benefit, positive or negative impact on the farmer's market?
Not negative, although I'll bring up something about that in my director's report. Yeah, it would only be potentially additional storage for a farmer's market.
Yeah.
To, you know, share space, and it might be a little bit closer, but kind of a little bit of both. Right now, the storage, the supply closet where farmer's market stores their equipment is also shared with the high school tennis program that has ball carts and balls and rackets, and then our cleaning supplies. So it is a little bit tight in that room. But theirs is probably the most organized of the stuff, so they do a good job of keeping things tidy. The agreement is the same agreement that we had last time. Like I said, my recommendations for a 1-year continuing of the existing agreement that I think dates back to the original, some of the same stipulations. We do still have a lot of the challenges with funding for improvements at Ahuska. The condition of the parking lot is not great. That's gonna be a very expensive project. The opportunity to look at changing kind of the layout of the parking lot with the master plan and having an option for not only farmers markets, but different events that might utilize some sort of you know, covered area and how that influences the rest of the park and parking, snow removal, et cetera. You know, alternative revenue sources on, you know, potential user fees or, you know, farmers market. I did just jot down, you know, some of the area farmers market, you know, what they're charging vendors and, you know, you're not gonna make enough on the vendor fees, you know, to cover a substantial increased fee to the city. It would either come on, you know, sponsorships and or, you know, user fees. They're all running, you know, between the Forest is probably low at 125 for a single. And some Prairie's at 300 a stall, Fitchburg 210, East Side 425. These are single, North Side 300, Capitol View 275. So you're somewhere in that $200 to $400 for a single stall. You know, range. Adding on to the market, you know, there's maybe potential other locations in Monona that have large parking lots that are private that may come online, you know, in the future. As far as other areas, we had talked about potentially trying to bring on an additional market at Grand Crossing, you know, as a form of additional revenue. There's challenges with that and all of the bandwidth Park and Rec has. You know, we've had discussions at the long term of what happens if the farmers market did not have volunteers anymore. And that's just not something our department, the current staffing level we have would be able to absorb, you know, and take on, because there is a lot of communication with, you know, vendors. And it's such a popular amenity to the community, but as we talked about last time, how do we look at, you know, funding strategies for improvements to that particular location? So, I'm still recommending, approval of this, you know, 1-year extension, and can try to come up with a plan and a future recommendation and kind of see where the farmers market board is at, and if it's restabilized with some, you know, new volunteers, moving forward for a longer term, you know, commitment.
Okay. Then, does anybody have any other questions, either here or online? Then, does somebody want to make a motion on the facility use agreement?
Motion to approve the facility use agreement.
30 seconds.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So this will go to the city council, hopefully next week. For, you know, their review and approval.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you, Aaron.
doing what you're doing. Hey, you guys can pull up a chair. Well, now, we have some more chairs.
Thank you. Good for now. Fine.
All right, then, you ready?
Yeah. Yep.
5A new business is Papa's barbecue facility use agreement discussion and recommendation.
Yeah, another Huska. So Gilbert's here with Papa's Barbecue. This was originally came out of COVID. I remember meeting virtually, and Gilbert showed up online and talked about moving a vending spot from another place on Broadway to Huska Park. And that's basically because my staff were patrons of the barbecue and thought it was so great. And it is great, and that it might be a good opportunity to fill up the park during the daytime hours. And so we finished our 3-year agreement with Papa's Barbecue at Huska Park, and I think it's been a great partnership. And Gilbert, also vends at a lot of our special events, including the, beer gardens at Schluter, some at San Damiano, and last year, I believe, headed up the festival, Fourth of July Festival. And, we're here again, with a 1-year extension of that. We had talked about whether this project with the storage unit included some updates to that path that might allow for additional vending carts of, different food variety, and you see around the country these food truck parks that they might have, and whether that's something we would want to entail. I think I'm punting on that idea for now. Need some further discussion. The food cart market in Dane County is volatile, I would say, with the we've had challenges with commitment issues of different cart owners committing to coming to events, and whether or not that is a trend or because of the number of events or people wanting to vend downtown or whatever it is. We've had people commit to events and then don't show up. Gilbert is great. He shows up and he's there every day at a Huska, he comes to our events. So I'm not sure there's.
Out for the best job?
What's that?
Are they holding out for the best?
I don't know. Like,
don't know.
there's this,
Okay.
we might have, we're here, and then the night shows up and
Okay.
they don't show up. So, and it kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like, they're like, maybe a cart's here 1 year, and then for whatever reason, they're not here the next year, or they change owners, or whatever it may be. So, whether or not that is, there's more demand than, what Gilbert has expressed. Has certainly an established following, and business clientele that are very supportive, that makes it worthwhile. And we know that because of that, we're gonna get the money that is established in the rent. So, the agreement is similar to the one from 3 years ago. It indicates the space area, that's off of the gravel path. The vending trailer and 3 vehicles, goes May through September. Anything outside of that can be approved by myself for $25 a day. Sometimes we get nice days in April and, Gilbert's here and wants to vend. May 1st to September 30th during park hours, so it's Tuesday through Saturday. That the agreement is for, with the caveat this year, if we have any exclusive use of park permits, that we, wouldn't be allowed to vend. So if you get an exclusive use of park permit for some type of event that has their own rules, we would have a 30-day notice of that. But that would maybe be, we've had one request in the last 5 years for that particular event. So the vend fee is $625 per month. I think we ended at $575 this last year in the agreement with the escalator, so increase there. Gilbert's here if you have any questions. Otherwise, from my end, I would recommend approval of this, and we'll continue to look at either another long-term agreement if both are interested in it from 2025, or having some better data on what the status of improvements to the park would be.
How's it working for you?
I love coming to work every day. We fill the park every day. I love to see the people sitting out. A lot of people get off work, come there. And my highlight is seeing all the tables full, the kids running around, everybody eating and everybody having a good time there. So I seen that all last year. So it's pretty good. I enjoy it. And a lot of parking. That's all I hear. We got parking now, so.
Yeah.
And then where I was at, other iffy at the gas station, it was kind of bad. I kind of cleared that up with the police department, but in the park, everybody's free to come. There's more and more clientele coming, they've been free to come here, safe. And they should still being safe there, so I have no issues. Everybody look for me to be there, so I have no problems there. It's a good thing. So it's a win-win on both sides.
Great, thanks. Anybody else have any questions or comments on this one? Or a motion?
Most to approve.
Is there a second?
A second?
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So this will go to the city council hopefully next week, or maybe not.
Yeah,
It's tight.
my day's gonna be busy tomorrow, getting stuff ready, but yes, that's the goal. Thanks
Okay.
very much. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay, six B, or let's see, B under new business. Yes, 5B is Monona Community Festival Use Agreement Discussion and Recommendation. Come on, come on.
Hi there.
You know, we had two people left a few minutes ago. For the minute.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm Brian Henry. I'm the board president, and this is Stephanie Dees Patton. She's the secretary, and this is Chris Walker. He's vice president. So we're here to talk about the Monona Community Festival and answer any questions you might have on the facilities use agreement. So
Jake, did you wanna kick off? You don't need to do the.
No, So the facility use agreement, you know, we've had so many events that have come through, you know, through the city and have discussions with multiple department heads. And so this facility use agreement, Missy did a great job drafting it, and it went through lots of revisions with, you know, Steck Schulte, city administrator, the various chiefs, public works, permitting, and try to encapsulate all the things that festival does and what the city will do and provide, and account for, you know, fees that would compensate the city for the staff time that's spent on it. And so the agreement includes all the different locations, the scope of the use, the dates and times of the festival, and then fees that were, put together based on what actual, you know, estimated use for overtime costs for police and fire, time that public works does for assistance, and then the parks fees were, what we had codified in our operating budget discussion. And so it's a pretty lengthy document, and we can look at, you know, different provisions of it, but, you know, Brian Henry's lived in Monona a long time. I think I've known you since the day I started, a long time. And it's a massive undertaking for another new nonprofit board to put together in kind of a short amount of time. And I think there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes to get to this point. The council will have its, you know, day in the sun too, to discuss things from our perspective, from Parks perspective. It's at least this part of the facility use agreement, and then granting exclusive use of park permits. So per ordinance, this board can grant the exclusive use of park, which gives the festival the entire park for their operations, which also allows them to restrict, you know, different activities or vendors that come in, so they can get their cut of it. So I don't want to necessarily go through, you know, each thing because you could be here, but I think a good Q&A with the festival committee. I think, you know, from our end, the festival's always like, here you go, because it's taken over, you get all the, you know, visitors. We try to get the park ready to go from a maintenance end, grass mowed, you know, the bathroom stocked. And then our staff comes in usually the day after on the 5th and does kind of cleanup of park trash cans and try to get facilities back while the volunteer groups take care of some of the other things. So, you know, generally from our end, it's a great way to showcase the park. It does get a lot of abuse from the amount of people, and when we throw inclement weather in, it creates significant challenges on, you know, turf restoration kind of in early July. And so we're going to be working with the festival committee and trying to continue to upgrade or make the grounds better in spring. And so we give it kind of a fighting chance, you know, for July. So We had some work done in the fall or post festival where we, Public Works Department replaced that large drain pipe, which was causing significant issues as it was blocked up to, the turf. And while that will, I think, make it better in the short term, we're still hoping for a good spring, grass growth in the area. Otherwise, it's still pretty, beat up, so to speak. But I think it's, it's an interesting process from the staff end, just because we do deal with so many requests from other events. And we don't have a lot of extra staff available always, so it is the fire chief, it is the police chief, it is the public works, it's a lot of directors and titles that meet and go over and make sure that we're adhering to our own ordinances and try to assist. And so sometimes the process is challenging and we're kind of working through that. I think, we're getting to a place, but I know, from the other side of the table, it may seem like this is really difficult, but my counterparts in Madison will always say event organizers generally like working with us, because even as challenging as we can be, it's not always easy on the other side as well. So again, I would, there are certain areas that I think Administrator Stack-Schulte had some comments, so there may be some just clarification of a few items on here that will go to council that I would share with Parks Board. But for by and large, the dates and the responsibilities and the, the management of the event are mostly clearly put together in the agreement.
So one thing that's noteworthy, we have not had an agreement in the past, correct?
Correct. So historically, we've had a handshake agreement on what the city would provide for services and labor, what the festival committee would provide. And I think over the years, especially post COVID, the budgets being where they're at, both police and fire don't really have a segregated line item in their budgets for special events to dictate what their overtime costs would be. And so we shifted towards a agreement for all events, including, Kelly can attest to the Memorial Day Parade, which would account for the overtime costs for police and fire services. So all of our events that require specifically police and fire for public safety, traffic control are all charged those actual costs. Our fees that were approved by the council for special events go into the general fund. So that's another area of, future discussion on how some of those fees can get segregated out into maybe like a park improvement fund. And so some of those fees could get put back into, the maintenance of the park. So I think it's a good start. But I would anticipate we'll see a recommendation for myself later in the year about, fee allocation and where those resources go. Because we want to be able to support these events. We want the fees to be able to be put back into the maintenance of the facilities and, some of the time that we have.
So it'd be nice to end up with some like, perforated pavers or something there in areas where it won't get torn up at some point in the future.
Right.
Saving everybody, if we can segregate some of those fees.
And just for the future, we've got a Nichols Road reconstruction project that's moving through conceptual design. We now have a Metro bus service going right through that may impact, rerouting of that for events that happen during the week. We'll have some design, I think, opportunities to look at how we integrate all of our special events using this area from the shelter to the road, the pool, and now the path system. Which ideally would allow for kind of, yes, certain areas that would be not subject to crazy weather.
Yes.
Events that we might be having in the area. So.
Yeah, but I mainly wanted to make the point that I think this is a lot better way to operate. Maybe that's just, because I used to be a lawyer, but I kind of having a handshake agreement on something that big was not ideal. So anyway. First, I wanted to thank you guys for stepping up and doing this. I already said that to Brian earlier, but just to get it on the record that it's a huge event. It's Monona would feel really weird, I think, in the summer if we didn't have it. So with that, I'll let you guys if you want to tell us about what you're doing or
Sure,
concerns about the agreement or.
sure. Well, thank you, for recognizing that. And thanks to the city, and Parks and Rec. This kind of started with Chris here after the previous board decided they were gonna be done. He put up the City Monona Community Festival. And I coached Chris long ago and I just called him up and said, hey, any way I can help out. And then, not to make it long, just one thing led to another and I'm here, Stephanie's there and Chris is there and we've got 7 board members and other community members that are on committees and
And we're all wondering what we really signed up for.
yeah. Yeah,
We knew.
yeah. Well, it's been a very, it's been a lot of hard work, in a short period of time, because we just got elected, January 8th or 9th. And so, and I've been working kind of behind the scenes with city officials, ever since, it was sort of said that I was gonna be president, so I just decided I'll just start working. And, so that's where it's at. It's, for the most part, it's been a very smooth process, and one of the pillars for me going into this was I just really wanted this to be a collaborative, collective event and process with the city. Because this is, it's arguably the largest event that ever comes through the city. There's
I mean,
tens of,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
30 to 50,000 people.
Yes.
And your event is huge too, so. Not to trivialize that event, yeah, yeah, and we have so many offerings and that's the goal and. I guess I look at the term value, what that really is, and people value lots of different things, obviously, and I value, the sense of community. And that's why I'm here in this community, Monona, and this festival brings that for me. It has for, I mean, I've been going to it since since 85. I mean, it's a long time. That's actually the first year of the inception of the actual board. But it was going on before that, and like you said, the handshake thing has been going on for a while, and I agree, this is a much better way to go. I mean, I guess I also went into it when I met with the directors and people, everybody, I just said, look, we're a refresh. We're new faces, and we're in this to work together collaboratively, and we recognize we are using the property of the city of Monona. We get that. I get that. And let's just start from there and let's keep going. And so, that's been the premises for what I've been working really hard to make this thing happen. And, I think we're in a good place. There's some things that we need to iron out a little bit more. It's, as was mentioned by as Aaron, volunteerism is a hard thing, and that especially comes true when it's getting work done behind the scenes, besides the day of and the pre-days, but everybody's working really hard to get things done and so I think we're in a really good place right now. And I'm pretty pleased with this. It was close here with this last week with this year, but I'm happy we have it where it is right now. There's a couple of things I would like to see different on here, but that I think this is really good to start with.
And
And
you want a critical thing? Did you want to address it down? Yeah.
well, I don't know if it's Parks and Rec related, so I'm not sure if this is the right board, but it's more related to the DPW and the shed
Okay.
over at that, so I'm not sure that is the place to do it. It's more, I don't know.
Yeah, that would likely be public works.
Public
Right,
Works,
yeah.
and I have talked with them, and that's one thing I've done from the start, when the city proposed that there has to be an LOI, and one of the requirements, there has to be one liaison to the city, and that's me.
And I made it clear that I am available anytime, and I'm here to help, I'm here, I'm reachable. You can get in touch with me, so. And then I've met with all the directors individually and collectively, and the city administrator anytime they need. And I'm gonna continue to do that, and if any of the city council members wanna meet, or anybody, so it's just, because communication is key, like, to making something like this happen. It's all about communication. So, on this document that's related to the facilities use agreement, I think it's in really good shape. I really like what we have at this point. One thing critical I would like to see, but as I listen to your talk and other folks, Jake, is that I would like to see there be long-term agreements. And I understand there's a new mayor going to be coming in, so that 1 year thing is important. I get that, and you mentioned that, Jake, with something else, and so I'd like there to be long-term agreements, but also within that provisions to revisit every year. I mean, because things change and people come and go and so on, but one of the third pillars of me taking on this position was I wanted to be sustainable. Because it's such a cornerstone tradition of the city of Monona, and I wanted to be sustainable. So right now, yeah, I don't know, I like what I see, it's come a long way.
You know, I guess one of the things I didn't see in here, and maybe I missed it in reviewing it, is sound. You know, bands stop playing at a certain time. I think has been 11 o'clock or so at night, and you know, I would like to see something like that in the document so that it's part of, you know.
But there's times for the carnival, but not
Yeah,
times
yeah.
for the band.
The bands stop at midnight.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's how it's always been, right?
it's always been.
Yeah.
so I think that needs to be
Okay.
addressed
Yeah.
in here.
That's good to have.
And with the carnival ending at 8 PM, I thought they would go until 11 or so.
They used to, but that was a change, directed change from
PD then.
Correct, from
PD.
PD.
Yeah,
Okay,
PD. And so that happened last year, and that's going to happen again this year. And I actually just talked to Wenzel today. And so there's a couple other changes on here that are addressed with the unlimited ticket sales past 7, and that's something I worked out with PD. They had a concern, and I said, yep, it's done. So I just told them today, and I said, look, this is the city's property.
Right.
And that's where I'm standing on pretty much every bit of this. It's like, look, we get that. And so, there was a little pushback, but it's not.
Do we have brings up good just for this, like closing time, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, music ends at midnight. We should probably clarify how late public is in the park, because that would be part of the agreement to exceed, park hours, which is past 10 PM, to exceed the amplified sound ordinance, which expires typically at 8 PM. But maybe kind of a set end time that we can agree with the police department of like, okay, there's that like hanging out and chit chatting, but then you got to go home.
Do they hang out?
I don't know.
It's-
I
it's-
can't wait till midnight.
It is, but I think, I talked to the chief about that a little bit, and, I had some of my own ideas, because we also don't want them
Right.
lingering. We have to get things done. We are there, well, I'm gonna be there from 5 in the morning till 2 or 3. and so-
I mean, if we wanna say like 12:30, like for people, I don't, or 1?
I'd say it has to be out of there by 1, I'd say. I can't say for sure, but no later than 1.
What is the last beer sold?
I was just gonna,
It's the last beer. They start doing last call at like 11:30.
So probably an hour after last beer.
Well, yeah, midnight would be like the.
Midnight,
last
the band
song
ends,
type of
and
deal,
then
One hour
yep,
off the beer.
Oh, 12:30?
Otherwise you're promoting the lingering.
Knowing that it's gonna take longer anyway.
Yeah.
Right, but at least if you have that hard,
Yeah.
like 12:30.
That also gives the police maybe like,
Yeah.
hey, I need help. And they're like,
Yeah.
you gotta go, it's part of the deal.
Yeah, and I am going to have that in a provision with our sound guy as much as possible to, like. We're gonna do some light flashing and some saying it again, and I'll be happy to get up there on stage and just start hurting people out, let's
Oh,
go.
no, don't.
Yeah, yeah, spend money elsewhere.
Another 2 hours of bar.
Yeah.
No, but I think if you do that for an hour afterwards, you know that some people are gonna stick, but it gives the expectation at least, and empowers you to be able to
I
enforce
think
it.
that's fantastic, good point.
One thing I was gonna say about putting the sound. In here, the limitation on when they would have to stop. You're gonna need a amplified sound permit, right, from the city?
Yeah,
So,
They do have the
They have that.
amplified sound permit as part of their deal, but I did
Okay.
not specify in here the additional times. It does, normal amplified sound goes till 8 p.m., so this is an extension. So I will put
Right.
that in.
So that would be part of a motion, just the extension of the amplified sound permit, the exclusive use of park permit.
yeah,
And the facility use agreement,
And-
and with the time for people to be out in the park. That would be an add to this.
With the facility use under Winnicott Park, you have the tennis courts, July 3rd, through the 5th. How are you utilizing the tennis courts during the festival?
So, on the 3rd, I don't think we're utilizing them at all, but I will have to say, again, I am new to this somewhat, and I have asked as many questions as I possibly can to the previous board and so on, but I don't think we use them on the 3rd. But on the 4th, we offer to our presenting sponsor the ability to go in there, they start moving over from their cigar tent to the tennis courts at around 6 or so, with the idea that people are lingering in their cigar tent, but they start moving tables over on their own, and then they have kind of an exclusive party for their businesses that get to watch the fireworks from that point, and then they're out of there, and the gate is locked. I don't know if it's locked, but I think it is, and then I unlock it, or I make sure I open it and I turn on the lights and shut off the lights.
Well, there's no gates.
Yeah.
There's one gate on the park side. There's no gate on the parking side. So.
We'll have one in there by.
Oh, good. Okay. And with tables and chairs on the court, I guess, I don't know if there's a concern about any damage to the surface.
We do a pre-inspection, that's part of the contract of grounds and the courts and then post-inspection, so if there's any damage to the courts, they'd be liable for them, but, and the tables have the rubber pads on them.
It's a good question. Any other questions from virtual or in here?
Okay. Then if somebody wants to make a motion and. What were the 3 things again?
So the motion would be recommending the facility use agreement for approval, including an exclusive use of park permit that needs to be authorized by ordinance by this board, an extension of the amplified sound permit until 12 a.m. and an extension of the park hours for patrons of the event until 12:30 a.m. on the nights of the 3rd and 4th.
Can we call that last one the Midwest goodbye provision? Say 12:30 and expect one, you know?
Right.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's perfect.
All right, is there, somebody want to make a motion to including those 3 things?
I would make that motion, yes.
Is there a second?
Well, second.
All right,
Tony,
any further discussion?
I don't know, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Because Jake, you had mentioned something about further discussion with city administrator things? Is
So-
that something separate to this?
Yeah, there's a few comments that he provided that I wasn't able to incorporate in. I think they're just clarification. There's nothing that would substantially change anything. I will send those to you and update the board. It's mainly just clarification on a few things that are included in here.
Okay,
Just the comments. And so I would anticipate this maybe takes 2 reads at city council or maybe not, but if there's the issue regarding the storage, on property, asking for an amendment to that part, that would be the appropriate place to do that.
yeah,
But anything else outside, and I'm just cruising through, are more, there's nothing with fees, nothing, it's just
okay,
like,
nothing,
yeah, nothing, no new
no,
fees.
no new
Outside
surprises?
of, right, no.
Change
No,
the hours or.
Yeah, no, it's just more like grammar and some clarifying of a few things.
Okay,
I wrote it, so definitely agree.
you did fantastic.
All right, then with that, is there, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So this will go to the council next,
Yeah, same,
next Monday.
yep. We'll probably put that first.
Thank you.
Okay, you go last year, but first at council.
Okay. And I'll attend if there's, but I think council asks questions. We can't remember, I spoke at council once.
I mean, they certainly, we can.
Yeah,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attend and I'll be there.
It'd be a little different. When you come there under the appearance section, we tend to avoid that back and forth because somebody might be bringing up something that's not on the agenda.
Yeah,
So we could, open meetings issues, but if you're there for an item on the agenda,
yeah,
I would expect a little back and forth.
It would be helpful to have you there too.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely planning on being for both
I'll be St. Patty's Day as well.
the 17th and then the 7th. So I think this ends at the 7th, Jake.
They're looking at me. About St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Do I look like a leprechaun?
Italian,
Yeah.
I mean,
St. Patrick was wrong.
I just thought it was gonna be common. St. Patrick's Day.
Anderson, no, that's not.
No,
No.
no Irish.
Looking around, maybe
Yeah.
there's some Irish and
Kelly.
Kelly, oh, yeah, hello.
There's some waters. I mean, the mayor.
Oh, yeah,
Connor.
oh, yeah. That's for sure. Anything else for?
Don't think so.
No, this was really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys.
Excited.
And thanks for having us.
You bet.
Appreciate it. All right, folks.
Okay, we'll be seeing you.
And the thousands of people.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice to
Okay,
meet you.
Yeah, really nice meeting you.
item 6, director's report and questions to staff from the committee.
I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to acknowledge the work of our team during the ice rink season at Lake Richbank River Rink. This was our highest grossing revenue year in year 5. And, we kind of do a weird budget year, January through December, but our ice rink portion of it goes November through, February. So, great job to Jessica Walsh, who administered, the staff and the plan. We had a few new events this year, including a Sweetheart Skate on Valentine's Day, Swifty Skate honoring and Taylor Swift songs, a Wicked Night at the rink, the musical. And so added a few of those new events. Our parks staff, Dan and Emily, they were on call 1 week at a time and responded to maintaining the rink with some seasonal staff. We had challenges with our ice resurfacer. That's continually going to be an issue, more than likely moving forward. But overall, it was a great season, and Missy did a wonderful job too. So I was really happy. There was another rink opening in Verona that we consulted on, continued to consult with, and it seems that there's a lot more, given the the weather that we have, you know, the ability to kind of still have consistent skating and learn to skates and events has been awesome. We had a large project at Maywood Park over the last, you know, month for tree removals.
But before we go on to that, can I mention something about the rink real quick? It was just awesome to see everything happen there this entire season. Not only was it beautiful, it was I just noticed that it was very well attended. And just the atmosphere itself is just a gem for Monona, I think, in the winter. So just everybody that's involved in putting that together, it's just a really fantastic thing that occurred. So I just wanted to say thank you. And did you have any preliminary numbers compared to other years yet? Like, just percentage?
It was like 20%.
20%.
It was like a 20% increase in revenue from the rink season this year from last year, which was also a high.
That's great.
So, you know, there was some increased fees as we're working through what those reports actually look to, but, you know, we added a collaboration, we collaborated with the public library, with Scoops and Stories, so we brought Miss Angelique, who's a wonderful librarian, and that brought in a lot. We have a really popular homeschool skate program, so, and then we have multiple partners, organizations that bring kids with special needs, NG21, that have like outside of our normal like operating hours. So we do continue looking at how we can fill time during the daytime. Weekends and you know, private events, special events are kind of, you know, a given, but we try to fill up a lot of those kind of slower time hours with different organizations and groups, including, you know, business organizations. So that was awesome. It was a really good year. And we're happy that, and you know, we just started getting the matting up and kind of having some high temperature days help melt the ice off the rink. The sooner that we can get it kind of getting it broken down is just in line with how we have to get everything else ready for the spring season. So this is kind of a crunch before the crunch of the season, so to speak. So this is great. Bring on the 70-degree day tomorrow, melt all that off and we can get it buttoned up. Maywood Park for operations, if you've seen a lot of tree removals, over 100 dead and hazard ash trees. A large chunk of our were removed with city staff, public works and parks. We did also have a firewood contractor come in and split up a lot of the logs for firewood. So we are able to like supply the rink with firewood from the cut trees for, you know, probably 2 seasons worth. And we'll still have leftovers that we're planning tentatively on having on April 5th, where we'd have a community opportunity to purchase some of it at Ahuska Park for money coming back into replant trees at Maywood. So we have a lot of firewood, but we were able to like salvage a lot of that wood that normally would either get, you know, taken to the landfill because just the time to try to split up that manually takes a long time. And that's a lot of hours that we don't have. So that's been a pretty big project on the parks operation side, along with the rink. From the recreation side, and we'll still miss you thunder a little bit, but you know, shout out to one of our team members, Jess Rose, who organized a Puzzle Palooza Fest at Maywood at the school. So
30 teams, 100 was 30 times 4, 120
people.
Is that like a
120
trend
people.
or something?
24 minutes, the first team of 4, so everybody got the same 500-piece puzzle, and the first team finished in 24 minutes. Second team finished in like 38, so we were actually afraid people weren't going to finish the puzzles in time, and when it actually turned out the other. The first team that finished the 500 also finished the 1,000-piece, while the rest of the teams were working on the others.
Ringers.
So,
Yeah, but like one of the things that I will always like compliment our staff is that we are pretty good at identifying trends and seeing what is working in other parts of the country, not even necessarily, you know, Madison area. And so this was one that is a trend, and it's kind of throughout the state even, there's a lot of these competitions going on. And also just a great way to kind of open the doors to Maywood and not just having kind of our after school and camp program. So that was really cool to see, and we anticipate bringing that back, you know, during the winter months, and maybe we'll have some here as well. The community center remodel project is chugging along. We anticipate being substantially completed by mid-April. Office reconfiguration on this site, some lower level transition to storage room into a wellness room, updating the senior center director area, having a change in kind of the reception area. And then some paint in the main hall and new lighting. So new lighting's not in yet. The stairway will be the last thing to get done. So we're looking at, you know, we have a large Little Badger consignment sale, April 11th, 12th, I believe. In this building, we're hoping to have it done. We still have to use the elevator in between levels between that. So feel free if you want to check it out after the meeting. It gets really busy really quick here in the next, you know, couple of weeks. We're trying to meet the demand that we have. We got all the tennis nets at Ahuska put up and ready to go. We'll have high school starting there in 2 weeks, I believe.
End of the month.
End of the month. We'll keep an eye on the forecast for weather on how soon we could start to open bathrooms up. We are typically earlier than most. Probably have a porta potty here at Winnequa, because we anticipate pretty big demand over the next, you know, 7 to 10 days with what the temperatures are looking like. And then we get into the season of athletics, ball diamonds, soccer, shelters, leading into the pool. So from that point, it's pretty cyclical. Right now, we're still in recruitment for staff, looking at where we're at for everything else. But Missy, did I go ahead? What did I miss?
Just got a lot of stuff coming up, like he mentioned, the 11th through the 13th is a Little Badger consignment sale here. 19th is the Easter egg hunt here in town. The 26th, we have the GG's Fun Run in Winnequa Park. The 3rd, Lake Monona Run. The 8th through 10th, the citywide garage sale, and then Kontiki weekend here in the park for the Girl Scouts the weekend after, which then rolls us into Memorial Day with the pool training and Kelly's events. So we have something happening every weekend, starting April 11th until September. Yay! Here we go. So
Great.
lots of fun stuff happening, and we'll be really busy and lots of people in the parks. So we'll do our best we can to get the word out, but hopefully everybody hears that things are going on.
It's great.
Is there some drainage work being done by the parking lot? Right up,
That was Public Works project with the rain garden. So I'm assuming that there was some blockage of a pipe that, or maybe they're replacing that pipe. But I just saw that too as well. That was happening today.
Were you gonna say something about the storage shed?
Oh, yeah. So
Maybe I shouldn't have.
we are working with Strand.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
Before you, so, because
Oh,
in case you
yeah.
guys don't know, the storage shed at Ahuska that we had recommended and didn't make the capital budget. Subsequent to that, the mayor, with some encouragement, came forward with a plan to pay for the shelter using the park dedication fees, and I can't remember now what the other source of
some
funds,
TIF
some leftover also, I think.
and yeah, capital reserve.
TIF money. So
Pay for what?
the storage shed at Ahuska,
Okay, not the shelter. The
Not-
storage.
not-
storage,
yeah, it's like, yeah,
I know.
There's a
550,
Yeah, cold storage.
yeah, the cold storage.
yeah,
Don't say cold storage.
it's not close.
We had to go through that.
Yeah.
council.
It's. Yeah.
It's not cold storage, it's just storage.
It's not climate controlled.
No, just everyone, there was just this thing over, what do we need frozen stuff? No, it's not cold.
Oh,
Not heated.
It's not a refrigerator, yes.
Okay.
Heated or cooled.
So we decided not to use that word.
that's,
Sorry, to prevent comments like, why does the city need a giant walk-in freezer? Yes.
So anyway, that's the good news is we got the money in.
The bad news is after going through with our engineers on a preliminary review of the project and budget, we were able to look back at the original soil boring on the area that we're looking at and the condition of the park because of the landfill and the fill that was put in before construction is going to increase significantly the cost because of how we might have to build at that particular site. And so it right now is potentially looking at redoing some soil borings all along communication with a possible couple alternate sites in the city. Near that area, one being a right-of-way site between the hospital, Meritor on Cox Avenue. We have some right of way that leads out to 51, that's a potential building site. The other would be the dog park as an option that's next to the public works facility and potentially relocating or putting a hiatus on the existing dog park. So I anticipate at our next meeting, this will be an agenda item and kind of have those options laid out with some better cost analysis. We're in also kind of unpredictable bidding times with kind of the state of the nation. And so we're kind of waiting to see what these preliminary project bids are going to come in at, like January, February, March is the time that we start to see those municipal bids coming in for other projects. And if it looks like projects with the bidding climate is way out of whack, then we'll have to look at what those funds are. But it is something that I believe is necessary for the continuation of what we do. We also have a memorandum of understanding that would be also for a second read for San Damiano that allows for more use of the garage at San Damiano for the Friends of. And certainly I think they would appreciate more space for storage for their events. Right now we're kind of co-sharing some things there. So that'll be an item for consideration. I've got a few more facility use agreements I'm hoping to bring next month. But we're still kind of working through the details with those organizations. And I'm hoping to schedule multiple, as I'm looking at our bike tours this spring, and maybe we can do it over a couple, nights for different locations, so we can get to some more of them as we look through our future 5-year capital plan. I will be scheduling some time with what we anticipate the future mayor Moore, as she's running unopposed, to kind of talk with the priorities of the department and then looking for direction on forecasting future capital budgets. So the existing CIP may change significantly on what we're going to be proposing. But we're also looking at recommending, and I'll probably bring another item to entertain, looking at our current parkland dedication fee and potential impact fees that we charge to developers. To have a study done to look at what our rates are as we continue to look at new apartment complexes, because if funding continues to be a challenge for capital improvements, we need to look at how we can maximize our opportunities for development and continue to use that source of funding. Questions?
Any update on the sign in Ahuska Park, for advertisement? Is that moving forward or?
Patrick?
We're waiting on we're still waiting on the finished site plan from.
I think they finally got that. Basically, we had been having discussions, closed session about the agreement itself. But they hadn't actually provided us, showing exactly where it's going to go.
Detailed. I mean, they showed us where it's going. But
Yeah.
we needed the actual.
For a legal description kind of thing. So the city attorney basically said, look, until they give us that, we're not gonna do anything. they have done that now, so I don't know. We had the council, I think, had some direction, pushback to them on some of the things that they wanted or that they didn't want that we did, so. So
Do you know if it's gonna be at our next meeting?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I don't know. Just because they just got that to the city, I think, this week, so, you know, that would. They'd have to have a back and forth with the attorneys.
And Doug's not here either.
Right,
so-
he's on vacation,
Okay.
so,
Gotcha.
I think it'll get done eventually. But we'll see.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Tony and Aaron, how was this sound and what do you think of this rotating Brady Bunch video?
I think it needs a soundtrack.
Worked well.
Alright.
Yeah,
good
sound
deal.
was great, picture, and it was, yeah, it was really cool how it cycled through. I'd never seen that before. And you get the whole look too of the boardroom there, so.
Right.
You should look down right now, so, you know, you're looking at other members and kind of waving. Like the Brady Bunch. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for accommodating. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, I